So the new project that I'm working on is a virtual farmers market. So the name of the project is called Virgin Islands Virtual Farmers Market, and it's basically like creating a Shopify for farmers, right? Like one of the things that I've been paying attention to, of course, most people know is food. And it's about how do we get our farmers to transition into that e-commerce market, because there's so much opportunity for niche products there. There's so much opportunity for not just local business, but regional and global business and even national business. And I think it's the next level for our farmers. And so the project is funded through the USDA Farmers Market Promotion Program, and is really to train farmers, help them understand e-business, and then give them access to markets. So there will be a Virgin Islands marketplace that's attached to like a national marketplace through Market Maker, and every farmer will have an individual online store. What it means for farmers here, I think one of the major benefits is being connected to a national platform. So Market Maker is one of the sites where you could just go in and you could search anywhere across the nation and find a farmer's market. So attaching our local farms, so that means that it's opening our agro-tourism industry. People who are interested specifically in locally grown products, they can come here and already pre-order, they can build relationships, they can get to know the farms, you get to be tagged in your certifications, you can search by produce, you can search by location. So it's just really an opportunity to widen the platform and kind of envelop them in our tourism product. I think the second thing that's important is during times of pandemic, right? We just experienced that. It gives people options to shop without leaving their home. Right now the beauty of the farmers market is we go and we socialize and we social distancing, and you're there with the produce, but we already have relationships with some of our main providers and producers. So this also gives farmers an opportunity to sell to those customers that they have developed consistently over the internet, receive payment, and people just come and pick up. So if we ever needed like distribution sites again, if things really got more difficult, now we're extending that market where farmers still can sell without actually having to be physically present, because they could use drop off and pick up sites. So the story is kind of like a winding road, and I like to call it the winding road of my destiny, because I started off in school, right? I started off working at Ricardo Richards Elementary School. This started off as a school-based project for students that I didn't want to do. So the principal had put me in charge of working on the ag fair booth, and what had happened was I was like, I'm not gonna do it. That's not what I don't. As a parent, why doing that for? And then eventually, what happened was I fell in love. The students found the Farm to School Network. The theme was, how do we get children involved in agriculture? Students found the Farm to School Network online, and I started advocating for the Virgin Islands to be part of the Farm to School Network. And that was because the students said, hey, Miss Sibley, look at this map. It says all over the US. We're the United States. Why aren't we on there? And this was 4th, 5th, and 6th graders at the time in a multi-age classroom. And I was like, great point. And so part of our project was to demonstrate a little bit of advocacy, but also to show the community that if every school had a garden and a market, how much money we could potentially make. At the time it was attached, Obama was president, so Michelle Obama had her whole school garden and Garden in the White House initiative. And so that started it. So at the end of that project, we won 3rd prize. The judges told them this would be interesting if they could make it real. And the students came to me after and was like, we're having a pizza party with the prize money and we're having a great time. And I was like, I'm done. And they were like, Miss Sibley, you think we could really do this? The judges asked us to, and I was just like, no, don't ask, right? In my head, I was just like, no, negatory, don't do that. Because, as adults, we tell children they could do whatever they want, and we tell children we have their backs, and we make them feel like we'll support them. And these kids were asking me directly to support them, and everything in me was saying I didn't want to, but so I wasn't a hypocrite, I had to. So I told them with a little bit of elbow grease and perseverance, anything is possible. And we, Miss Williams, the principal at the time, allowed us to do a school-wide project. around farm to school, and we started engaging school lunch and state offices, and at the time the people who had the contract, and we were attending webinars, and the kids were involved in it, and all of a sudden like this thing in me just woke up, and I began to find myself equally paying more attention to farm to school and the emails I was answering for that advocacy than being in a classroom. And so I resigned. I told Ms. Williams at the end of the year, I was like, so, you know, these children need somebody who's going to be present, and I wanted to be present for them in a different way. And so those same kids, like maybe 10 years later, I honored them and I gave them plaques, but it was because little did I know they were opening me up to something that would bring me so much joy, because that went from being a farm to school project to realizing that Virgin Islands Good Food, which is now a thing, it's an organization, that's what it became. It went from a school project to an organization, and we just wanted to bridge the gap between farmers and institutions and funding, and here we are. Here we are in 2021 with hopefully something that will help transition our market. Where do I see the Virgin Islands? Wow, okay, so right, this is going to sound like to some people they're going to think this is absolutely not achievable, but I actually see the Virgin Islands as the lead of the agriculture industry in terms of ag tech and innovation, right? Like what we have in the Virgin Islands and in St. Croix in specific is the opportunity to test anything at scale, right? So in the global market, St. Croix for me will never be able to compete in production. And those aren't my words. Those are words from, and I want to credit people who informed my thinking. Richard Warburg, who's a partner I met through the RT Park, the Research and Technology Park. But there is something about what we could do with tech, right? So looking at the Sustainable Tech Village that's proposed, and hearing Vision 2040, which said the Virgin Islands 20-year plan, all island said agriculture was the prime industry to be developed, and technology was the fifth, automatically made me think ag tech. So where I would like to see us is leading Caribbean ag tech. We're testing technology, we're creating technology, we're using our broadband capability in the waters to pump that out to people, and people are coming here to learn. Companies are coming here to say, I have this specific ag technology that I want to test with a group of people. Like I think the Virgin Islands could be the lead in ag tech innovation. We could be the Silicon Valley of the world when it comes to agriculture technology. We just have to take that leap, like get on the next frequency, like ag Bitcoin, ag cryptocurrency. Like we could do that. So I just, I think it's important for us to look at like aquaponics, for instance, right? Dr. Rakosi is like the father. He's credited as the father of the aquaponic industry as we know it, right? And people come to the Virgin Islands all the time to be trained in aquaponics. So that itself is the seed that says we could be leading innovation. We could be leading next. We could become the training center for the world. And I mean, and we've talked about it, people from, I used to work in extension. People from China have come here. You just discussed with somebody from Rome. Like we're known for that. We already are that hub. We're not capitalizing on it, right? And we need to sell that ag story. And to me, that's a very crucial story, right? That pivots St. Croix in a very specific light. And I am a St. Thomian, but it pivots. It's really something that I think could just explode and make us secure, food secure. So there is so much work to be done, right? When I first started this work, I had a meeting with Errol Chester, and he was then the assistant commissioner, and Dr. Akil Peterson, Lewis Peterson, who was the commissioner. And Mr. Chichester asked me, how do you eat an elephant, right? And I was like, curry, stew, but he was like, one bite at a time. And it took me like 3 years after to understand actually what he was asking me, because this is an elephant, right? So there's so much work to be done, and we have partners stepping up now to kind of like take a bite. And so if we all eating this elephant at the same time, we're gonna get someplace. My goal is this Virgin Islands virtual farmers market is like step one. I think after we get farmers online, there is so much work to be done. We need value-added space, and I know some of that is on the way. We need certified community kitchens. I know some of that is on the way. We need to support farmers in infrastructure production, we need to find a way to build legislation that gives money or a revolving fund grant to farmers so we can expand infrastructure. We need to start thinking water and land use plan to figure out where are the ag spaces we're preserving. We need to figure out what are we committing back, right? We live at 84 square miles. St. Thomas is what, 34, St. John is 10. And with climate change, I need to name that square miles is shrinking, right? And so we also have to look at how we do agriculture differently. So the question is now, the next is regenerative agriculture, not sustainable, but how do we actually get to past carbon neutral, and we're building soil. And that in particular is very meaningful for farmers who are smallholder farmers, who are farming 5 to 10 acres on average, farmers whose groundwater is so close to the water table, right? Farmers whose farming practices contribute to climate change and hurricane season in a particular type of way. Farmers whose pest use can contribute to how much fish we have in the ocean and how our coral reefs respond. And so for me, the conversation is the virtual. So I'm gonna be very frank. Farmers need to make money, right? I am only as valuable as how much dollars I can exchange, because they've been talked to so much by a lot of people who have pretty conversations, right? So they have heard all of this before. I am Christopher Columbus to the farmer, right? Somebody again with a really lovely story of how they are going to improve something that doesn't actually benefit or include farmers. So my job is, one, to show and prove to farmers that we actually want to expand markets for them. And that is not just showed in love and respect, but it is showed in value and promotion and exchange in the dollar. So I have to continue making sure that that dollar exchange happens. That's my job. Second, by doing that and building trust and hopefully working collaboratively with other government agencies and community agencies, beginning to think about how we use the space that we're given to leverage, and the money that we have to leverage, to create leverage, and bring more resources into the territory that can do things like create regional planning. Because we cannot operate in isolation. We don't have enough food to feed and sustain the population. So if we're considering regenerative agriculture, considering the land and thinking about food security, that means we have to think about what it means to be Caribbean, not just American. There's a part of this that's about culture, eating our own food, preserving our food ways, right? We haven't even begun to touch, we didn't have the resources to, if I'm quite, this was an army of one, with some reluctant volunteers who happen to be named husband, mother, and best friend. And that network has graciously expanded. I have like a beautiful board of young, innovative people now. So like in 8 years, we're actually just getting our feet. I'm entering my toddler years. So there's so much more to be done. And the question is, I gotta go back to how do I eat an elephant? And so the first thing is helping farmers establish themselves as viable businesses to then be able to talk about how those businesses run regeneratively. How people find me to get more information. Okay, so there is a website. It's it's goodfoodvi.org. And then I'm also on Facebook. You can look up Virgin Islands Good Food Coalition. Our phone number is 340-332-0253. Many people also find me by calling the St. Croix Foundation, which is our fiscal sponsored home. So they receive and take messages for us. And then lastly, you can email info@goodfoodvi.org. So my students help me find out and like really take a good look at who I am, right? Everybody was like, you have such a great propensity for this. Like, how did you build up the knowledge so quickly? And I was like, I don't know. I Googled stuff, and in that journey, I realized that my great grandfather, who I want to lift up and honor, John Joseph Sibley, he was a pillar and a beacon of agriculture. He was, in the Virgin Islands, and he stewarded the land, and he provided opportunities for specifically the migrating French population who came to St. Thomas and were primarily farmers up in the North Shore. And then on my mom's side, my mom's dad, he was the Speaker of the House in St. Kitts, and he was the Minister of Agriculture, so William Florian Glassford. So I kind of find in my DNA this matching of agriculture, which now makes sense to me why this passion feels like a fit, because I'm actually carrying on like a legacy, a familial legacy, both on my mother's and father's side. And if you find yourself on the edge of anything, right? What I want to encourage people, and whether it's food work, farming, advocacy, newfound passion or love for St. Croix, or wherever you are in the world, like turn inward. Like the journey for me, I am realizing, is equally as much inside as it is outside. And every time I try to take on a mantle and like fight for something, but I don't address myself or spirit, and I'm being like really true, like if I don't do that, if I think I'm doing this by myself alone as a human without intervention or support from the unnamed, the divine, whatever you want to call it, you know, in my household it's God. My mom's devout Christian, but whatever you want to call it, I can't do it without that. It takes a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation, and a lot of patience. And the tool that I have to change the most is myself. You know, I find myself wanting to be angry with the government, angry with people. Like there was this period, oh, they don't want to walk with me, they don't like me. Like all of these excuses, and the person who really I had to address was me. Like those were my stories, those were my narratives. And if I don't want to collaborate, then nobody ain't gonna collaborate with me, because it's about work. So my gift and advice to anyone taking this on is prepare to do your own work. Don't work on other people. Don't work on nobody's system. When you work on you and you follow your path, all of a sudden, little pieces, steps rise up to meet you to help you get to the next natural step. And I also want to say I didn't do any of this alone. This is all about relationships, the human ones, how you respect people, how you treat people, how you own up to integrity, how you apologize and admit when you are wrong, how you say thank you, how you temper yourself and come back to the table. This is the most human thing I've done in my life, is pursue this.